Hello students, welcome to this class of MSc Physics part 2nd. In this pandemic situation arise due to COVID-19, we are not able to enjoy our usual method of teaching learning. But thanks to modern communication technologies, we will be able to continue our education process. Myself, Dr. S.R. Gadak, Associate Professor from Department of Physics, KTHM College. I am going to teach you this course from semester 3rd, Experimental Techniques in Physics first. Let us start with module 3rd, Vacuum Techniques. The topics which we are going to study in this module are principles of pumping concepts. Then the different types of vacuum pumps which we are going to study are the rotary pump, molecular drag pump, oil diffusion pump, cryogenic pump, Gator ion pump, titanium sublimation pump, sputter ion pump, and orbitron pump. So you can see here in the first part we shall study the basic principle of pumping concepts, and in the second part we are going to study all the given different types of pumping or vacuum pumps. Okay, so before beginning the actual study of principles of pumping concepts, let us quickly take a review of vacuum physics. Let us start with the definition of vacuum. So what is vacuum? So first definition you can see here is vacuum is a space from which air or other gas has been removed. So if you consider any restricted volume in a space, and if you remove the gas molecule from that particular space, then you can say that a vacuum is created. So to minimize the number of gas molecules from the given region means to create a vacuum. The second definition is that it is related with the pressure. So in kinetic theory of gases, you have studied that the gas molecules, they are continuously in a state of motion, and in this process the container in which they are filled, they are continuously colliding. The gas molecules, they are continuously colliding with the walls of this container, and the number of gas molecules colliding with the surface or wall of the container are creating some force. So this force exerted per unit area, that is nothing but the pressure exerted by this gas inside the container. So if you reduce this pressure, then you will be able to create a vacuum. So vacuum is defined as a space in which the pressure of a gas is low as compared to the atmospheric pressure. So atmospheric pressure, you know that our earth is covered by certain layer of gases that we call as a atmosphere, and because of that we have some standard pressure on the surface of earth. But in a given container, at a normal condition, suppose we have certain number of gas molecule. This is represented by this first diagram. Now if you remove the number of gas molecules, and if you decrease the gas molecules from this container certain number, then you can say that vacuum is created. Further, if you reduce the number of gas molecules again, then again vacuum will be increased. So you can say that this is a high vacuum. So as you go on decreasing the number of gas molecules in a given volume, then definitely the pressure is going to decrease, because less number of molecules are striking to the walls of the container. So less force is exerted per unit area, that means less pressure. So as you decrease the number of gas molecules in a volume or in a given container, then you are decreasing the pressure. So when pressure is further decrease, so you can say that you are going to a high level of vacuum. So less is the number of gas molecules, higher is the level of the vacuum. So this particular diagram will definitely help you to understand this particular concept, what is level of a vacuum. Then the very basic concept or question in your mind may arise, that why we need a vacuum. So in different technologies or in different manufacturing process, there are certain requirements. The first requirement is that in certain cases or in certain applications, we need to move a particle in a straight line over a large distance. So I can give you some example. The example of cathode ray tube, the example of X-ray tube, or the example of scanning electron microscope. In all these cases, we have an electron. For example, in X-ray tube, the electron from the filament are accelerated towards the anode and they are striking on the anode. But in the X-ray tube, if suppose you do not maintain a vacuum, then these particular electrons will collide with the gas molecule and they will not be able to focus on the target. Okay, so this is a difficulty. So we need a vacuum there inside a X-ray tube. Similar is the case in cathode ray tube or in scanning electron microscope also. The electrons coming from the electron gun, they are focused onto the sample for which you are going to observe the surface. So it must be focused, and for that we need to create a vacuum. Second important situation where we need a vacuum is to provide a clean surface. In some of the manufacturing processes, the presence of gas molecules or air molecules, any gas molecule, may degrade the quality of the product or it may contaminate the product. For example, in semiconductor industry, you know that semiconductors, they are very specifically grown materials, pure semiconductors, and when they are being processed in order to produce a semiconductor device like a chip, in that particular case you need a very clean environment surrounding to this semiconductor chip. Clean environment means there should be no other gas molecules present at all. There should be no dust or floating particles present in the space surrounding to the semiconducting material. So this is possible only when you create a vacuum. And if you don't create a vacuum, what will happen? These gas molecules present surrounding to this semiconductor, they will contaminate the semiconducting surface and you will not get a product which is required with certain qualities. So this is why in order to provide a clean surface, we need to create a vacuum. So you know that different units are used to measure the vacuum. So this table gives the different types of units that are used to create a vacuum, to measure a vacuum. Now just earlier I have told you that vacuum is measured in terms of the level of the pressure. So the very fundamental unit of vacuum, as you know, it is force per unit area. So SI unit is Newton per meter square, which we call as Pascal. Okay. Then another unit is torr, millibar, atmospheric pressure, and PSI, that means pound per square inch. This is the British unit of measurement. So the conversion among this particular interconversion among these particular units is given in this particular table. For example, Pascal. Okay. So 1 Pascal, you can say it is 7.5 into 10 raised to minus 3 torr, or it is equal to 10 raised to minus 2 millibar, or it is equal to 9.87 into 10 raised to minus 6, and so on. Similarly, torr, you can say it is 133 Pascal. So like this, atmospheric pressure, so this is very important figure. Atmospheric pressure 1.05 into 10 raised to 5, or it is 760 torr. So atmospheric pressure is 1.05 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal. It is 760 torr. So like this table gives you all these particular figures, which will help you to understand the conversion among these different units. Now let us talk something about the vacuum ranges or the level of vacuum, you can see. You can start with the normal condition, that is atmospheric pressure. So when it is a normal condition, that means you have not removed any gas molecule from the given space. So the pressure is normal, it will be called as atmospheric pressure. And in terms of a unit torr, throughout this table we shall use a unit torr here. So 760 torr, that will be a normal pressure, or we can call it as a atmospheric pressure. If you reduce this pressure further, about 10 raised to minus 3 torr, that pressure up to 10 raised to minus 3 torr, that is called as a low vacuum. Then if you have a pressure in the range of 10 raised to minus 3 to minus 5 torr, that is called as a medium vacuum. Then the pressure in the range of 10 raised to minus 5 to minus 10 torr, it is a high vacuum. Minus 10 raised to minus 10 to 10 raised to minus 11 torr, it is ultra high vacuum. Up to 10 raised to minus 13 torr, it is extreme high vacuum. Then if you go in a outer space means beyond the atmospheric layer. So after the our atmospheric layer surrounding to our earth, the gas layer, atmospheric layer, will become thin and thin. So the less number of gas molecules will be there, and therefore the pressure will be low. So it is also a vacuum, you can say. The outer space, you can consider the level is 10 raised to minus 9 to 10 raised to minus 17 torr. And the perfect vacuum, this is very ideal condition, theoretically, which is very impossible. So 0 torr. So not a single gas molecule is present in a space. That case, you can say it is a perfect vacuum. In a laboratory, to achieve this perfect vacuum is quite impossible. Then in a process to create a vacuum, you know that you are continuously removing the gas molecules. So gas molecules means, you know, that air is present, and in air, you know that there are different constituents. So this table gives the components of dry atmospheric air. Dry means water vapor is not present. Okay. So in a dry atmospheric air, these are the constituent gas molecules, and their volume percentage and their contribution in the atmospheric pressure is given in this particular table. For example, if you consider nitrogen, so nitrogen, you know that in a atmospheric air, its percentage is 78.08, and its contribution in the total atmospheric pressure. Total atmospheric pressure means 1.05 into 10 raised to 5 Pascal, or you can say approximately as 1,05,000 Pascal. So out of this 79,117 Pascal, that pressure contribution is there only because of nitrogen. So why we are discussing this table? This is very interesting, that when you are creating a vacuum, then definitely your vacuum pump or your vacuum system must concentrated on these three gas molecules: nitrogen, oxygen and CO2, or rather only two, nitrogen and oxygen. Why? Because nitrogen has a contribution of 78.08% in the atmospheric air, whereas oxygen has almost 21%. And the pressure contribution also you can see here, 79,117 and 21,223. So almost you can say 1 lakh, so which is very near to the atmospheric pressure. And here also 98% of the total air volume percentage because of these two gases only. So if you focus on removing these two types of gas molecules, definitely you will be able to create a vacuum to a very higher level. So these are the requirements. When you are thinking of designing a vacuum pump, you must see that your vacuum pump is efficient for removing at least these two types of gas molecule. Definitely, when you are leading to a very high level vacuum, the contribution because of these gas molecules need to be also considered. And one more thing in this table, I have not mentioned the contribution because of the water vapor, but definitely water vapor is also present in normal conditions, you know that, and that is also having certain contribution in the atmospheric pressure. So your pump while designing the vacuum pump, the contribution because of water vapor should also be considered. So students, let us come to the actual topic, principles of pumping concepts. So after studying these basics about vacuum, what is vacuum level, what are the units for measurement of vacuum, and all that contribution in the atmospheric air, that means the constituent gas molecules in the atmospheric air. Now we shall discuss about the principles of pumping concepts. So the vacuum pumps are classified in three types on the basis of pumping principles. So you can see these three types. The first one is positive displacement pump, second is momentum transfer pump, and third is capture pump. So we are going to study the basic principle of operation of all these three types: positive displacement pump, the momentum transfer pump, and the capture pumps.